Okay. Good question. Actually, it's easier. You thought it was complicated. It's much easier than if you'd asked me, how do we know that the Bible is true or a lie? That's much harder. But when they say, see, nobody wants to say it's a lie. What they want to say is, how do you know it's literally true and not just a lot of very deep symbolic metaphysical stories? So what gives you the right to take it literally? Well, it's fairly simple. How do you, if you wrote something, you would generally signal what it is. For example, what if you started a letter, and in the letter you said this: I am a reporter. I'm telling you what happened to me on September 12, 1988. This is what happened. Now, what does that mean? If somebody starts what if you sent that in to the New Yorker, and the editor said back and said, we don't like to take that literally. We like to think of it as a parable. We don't believe it really happened to you. And you would say, I signaled what it is. What are you talking about? Don't do that. I don't want you to publish it under poetry. I don't want you to publish it under fiction. It's not. I say it's nonfiction. Now, Luke starts off, and what does he say? Okay, let's take the Gospel of Luke. Let me just read you this one. And he says, ta-da. Now, actually, it's actually all through, but this is unmistakable. Many have undertaken to draw up an account of the things that have been fulfilled among us, just as they were handed down to us by those who were eyewitnesses from the first. Therefore, O Theophilus, since I myself have carefully investigated everything from the beginning, it seemed good also to me to write an orderly account for you, so that you may know these things so that you may know the certainty of these things. Now, that's as clear as he can possibly say. I went to the eyewitnesses, I listened to them all, I wrote them down, and I've created an orderly historical account. Now, if you don't want to take Luke as writing history, then you have to take him as lying, but you can't take him as writing symbol. Any more than you would want somebody to do that. If you wrote it all over your page, you write it into your editor, this is not fiction, this is nonfiction. How much more simple? Now, am I saying that's true about every part of the Bible? No. Having said that, I want to say there are parts of the Bible I'd rather not go into, like Ecclesiastes, that are very hard to interpret because we don't know the genre. Genre is everything. Is it a play? Is it a story? Or is it reporting? It's hard to know. When you get far enough back, it gets so far away, culturally and historically, it's hard to know sometimes. There are genres back then that we don't have now. But when you have such obvious statements like that, I went to the eyewitnesses, I wrote down the orderly account. How could anybody take that? In other words, it's either in fact, when he says it's eyewitnesses, that means even when people say, and the average person the average reporter says, well, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John were written down many, many, many years after all the eyewitnesses were dead, so we can't even know if these things really happened. There's no eyewitness check on things. That's not what it says. I mean, people don't want to say it's either a lie. The New Testament is either a lie or it's true. But one thing it's not is unliteral, wonderful metaphysical stories.